Coachella Valley, man. Everybody back at home. Everybody get ready, man. When I come back, we're going to celebrate. Thank you.
All right, okay, Kimber here, please.
10 on 10.
When you're ready.
What's up, Fred? Oh. You already heard
Dante's
that
boxing.
My man.
Oh,
I got this on video, Tim. I'm putting it up.
Word, man.
I wish I would have got when he did
I'll
it the
be
last
on
time.
it.
He did- Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? This is what makes the sport of boxing so great. The theater of the unexpected. If I would have told you before this fight that the quote-unquote feather-fisted Tim Bradley was going to knock out a man who had never even been knocked down before, a guy that was known to be durable, Brandon Rios, you wouldn't have believed it, right? I mean, going into this fight, what was everyone saying? Everyone kept saying the same thing. As long as Tim Bradley doesn't go on the inside, you know, he can outbox him. And then people were saying, yeah, but Bradley isn't disciplined enough. He's going to go on the inside, and that's when Brandon Rios is going to have his chance, right? And what happens? Tim Bradley actually goes in the inside, and he beats Brandon Rios at his own game. How about that? He beats him at his own game. He does something that no one else was able to do, including Manny Pacquiao, and that's knock out Brandon Rios. Now, looking at the first couple of rounds, I noticed right away Tim Bradley, he had already deviated away from what we thought he was going to do. He was already fighting the inside fight from the first round on. And Brandon Rios was throwing some hard hooks. He wasn't landing them, but he was throwing some very hard hooks. And I was saying, Tim Bradley better watch out for that hook. But as the rounds progressed, you started to see more versatility from Tim Bradley. Beautiful combinations, beautiful inside work, the uppercuts, massive overhand rights. Bradley, he would throw that overhand right over Brandon Rios' jab. Sometimes he wouldn't even wait to counter Rios' jab. He would get real low. And it seemed to me that when Bradley would get really low and throw that overhand right, Brandon Rios wouldn't even see it. I think it really surprised a lot of people that really from the opening bell, Tim Bradley, he was outworking Brandon Rios on the inside. Another thing that Brandon Rios or Tim Bradley did that was very, very impressive was how Bradley was able to force Brandon Rios to reset with that pistol-like jab that Bradley kept throwing. If you guys notice when you watch this fight, Bradley would jump on Brandon Rios with combinations. See, usually you watch fights and fighters, you know, they throw combinations and then after that, they stop punching and then they try to set up something else. But what Bradley would do is he would throw combinations, and right after he finished throwing the combinations, he would throw about 2 or 3 jabs that would basically keep Brandon Rios from retaliating. You could clearly see after a couple rounds, the discouragement and the frustration was really starting to set in when it came to Brandon Rios. When I was watching this fight, I said to a couple friends, when you get frustrated and when you start to get discouraged, you usually make even more mistakes and you're more vulnerable to get caught with something and possibly get knocked out or knocked down. This is exactly what happened to Diego Corrales when he fought Floyd Mayweather. The first couple rounds, Diego Corrales, he was smiling. He had this look of confidence. Every time he would get caught with a good shot, he had this confident look, like it's okay because I'm going to catch up with you. By the 5th, 6th round, all of a sudden that expression, that face expression changed. And then he had this frustrated look. And it just got worse and worse as the rounds went on. Next thing you know, he starts making more mistakes because now he's frustrated, he's confused, he's discouraged. And that's when he really starts getting beat up by Floyd Mayweather. This is what happened to Brandon Rios. The first couple rounds, he was smiling every time Bradley caught him. By about the 5th round, there was no more smiling from Brandon Rios. He looked discouraged. And I said to one of my friends as we were watching the fight live, I said, you know, even though Brandon Rios has a great chin, because I noticed before Bradely knocked him out, it was about maybe a round or two before that where Bradely caught him with a really good body shot. And I noticed as soon as he caught him with the shot, Brandon Rios started backpedaling. He started backing up. And I said he must have hurt him with that body shot. You know, when I think of body shots, it's funny because if you guys notice in the sport of boxing, the matador often knocks out the bull. I'm not saying that it always happens, but usually when you see a matador versus a bull on a high level, right, where you got like some very talented fighters on the top level fighting against each other, usually the matador will knock out the bull. If anyone is getting knocked out, it's usually the bull that gets knocked out. I mean, we've seen this with Tyson versus Holyfield. We've seen this with Shane Mosley versus Margarito. And speaking of the Mosley versus Margarito fight, when I think of the body shots, I think about that Mosley versus Margarito fight, because a lot of people probably don't know this because Mosley didn't knock Margarito out with body shots. But if you watch the fight, you'll notice Mosley, he hurt Margarito a couple times with body shots. There was a couple times where Margarito, he doubled over from some of them body shots. And Mosley would even talk about this after the fight. He would say, I knew I was hurting him with body shots. Okay? So it's so crazy because a fighter like Margarito, he's more known for being a body puncher. And yet Mosley, in a certain sense, beats him at his own game. This is exactly what Bradely did to Brandon Rios. He beat him at his own game. No one gave Bradely a chance on the inside against the very, very, very durable Brandon Rios. So with Bradely knocking out Brandon Rios and Rios being knocked out for the first time in his career, he actually announced his retirement right after this fight, did Brandon Rios. And I have to say, man, you know, Brandon Rios, he's had a good career. He's been in the ring with Manny Pacquiao. He's been in the ring with Tim Bradley. He's made a lot of money. Matter of fact, I believe Brandon Rios, he had, even after he lost in, I think, the Olympic trials, he wasn't even planning on turning pro until some people from his team encouraged him to do so. So considering that, Brandon Rios, he had a pretty decent career. And I understand where he's coming from if he wants to retire. Now, when it comes to Tim Bradley, boy, oh boy, does he have some great options. You guys already heard Bob Arum. I talked about it. Bob Arum, he said that he wouldn't mind doing Canelo versus the winner of this fight, which is now Tim Bradley. I'm telling you guys right now, I believe that that's a 50-50 fight. I mean, I don't even believe Canelo is going to beat Cotto. But let's just say if Canelo wins, or even if he loses, if he still wants to fight and he decides to fight Tim Bradley, that's a very competitive fight because Tim Bradley is such a great boxer. But what's more dangerous for Canelo is the fact that Tim Bradley, he can fight on the inside. And he's shorter than Canelo, so it's like he can get underneath Canelo like he did with Brandon Rios and start landing those big body shots. So I'm not saying Bradley wins the fight, but I'm saying I believe that fight is more competitive than people think. So there's a lot of options for Tim Bradley. We'll talk more about that on the radio show this Tuesday. But something else I want to say about that body shot that Bradley caught Brandon Rios with in this fight. Watching Brandon Rios get caught with that body shot, it makes me respect Keith Thurman even more. Because the body shot that Keith Thurman got caught with against Luis Collazo, that was a massive body shot. And you could see that Keith Thurman, he felt it, but he refused to go down. He refused to take a knee. And he continued to fight. And he won the fight. So that was just one of the many adversity tests that Keith Thurman passed in that fight. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
Hi, you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation. Woo!